So fun fact, I've never actually played the OG Separate Ways DLC, even though I had Resident Evil 4 on the PlayStation 2. As I mentioned in my Resident Evil 4 remake video, I was 6 years old when I first played Resident Evil 4, and honestly, beating it was one of the most satisfying things I've ever done. However, my PlayStation 2 was extremely buggy, which meant it was kind of difficult to play games continuously. Gaming today is honestly a breeze compared to back in the day. Now that I'm saying it, it kind of seems like I'm old saying back in my day. Okay, I remember when my PlayStation 2 disc would randomly stop working and I had to clean the disc with a cloth and alcohol and it would somehow fix it magically. Nowadays, gaming is honestly such a breeze where all you have to do is click download on a game digitally and it would just play the game. I was off topic, so back on topic. Because of the reasons stated before, once I finished the original Resident Evil 4, I dropped it because of how buggy my PlayStation 2 was. Therefore, I had no idea the Mercenaries mode and Separate Ways DLC even existed. Okay, back to off topic, but for the love of God, I cannot spell separate. I always spell it and the red line just appears on the bottom of the word and I would have to retype it. Like, does anyone else have this problem? Have this problem of not being able to spell separate? Okay, regardless, to have something to compare to, I kind of went through YouTube and watched a playthrough of the original Separate Ways, and from my first impression, it kind of seemed like you were just playing Resident Evil 4 again, but as Ada. The game would also skip around in the story, so it was just kind of weird. Like, the most egregious part that I've ever seen is the Krauser boss fight. It was so obvious that he was just thrown in there to fight Ada, as he didn't even have any voice lines.
That's a large thing you have there.
Oh! He's pulling his cock out!
But, as I've said, I just watched the YouTube video and I have absolutely no clue what I'm talking about. In Resident Evil 4 Remake, Separate Ways feels more of an expansion. The things they cut from the original Resident Evil 4 are brought back in this DLC. Most notably, U3. I kind of like how they did it because the Resident Evil 4 Remake campaign is already pretty long and it makes the Separate Ways DLC feel fresh, compared to the original Separate Ways where everything just kind of feels reused. The one thing that Separate Ways does best for me personally is getting me more excited for Resident Evil 9. This DLC really expands on Ada's character and we see what Leon does not.
Good boy. Just keep him busy a little longer.
If I'm correct, I have not seen any leaks by the way, Ada will be in Resident Evil 9, mainly because Leon and Ada seem inseparable. You see what I did there? The DLC is called Separate Ways, and I said, okay, never mind. I predict that Leon and Ada's story will end in Resident Evil 9, but I also wish that I'm wrong because I love these two characters so much. I really hope they got married in between Resident Evil 6 and RE9, man. Please tell me I'm right. Please, please, please. Okay, anyways, let me yap about the Separate Ways DLC, as I recently played it on hardcore mode.
Sweet dreams.
Alright, to start things off, the gameplay is one of the first things that I really noticed about the DLC. One standout thing about Ada's gameplay is the fact that she has a grappling gun. This grants her the ability to melee enemies from a distance because she has a grappling gun. If you get the charm later on, you can also rip off the enemy's shields with the grappling gun, which is a cool addition. It can also be used as a quick transportation tool where you can quickly skip some sections in the village by just hitting the right trigger. You can even melee an enemy after grappling, and I found that doing that is always pretty cool. This leads to my biggest complaint, where I feel that they didn't really implement the grappling gun in some encounters. For example, just imagine if we could grapple around the arena while we are fighting a boss, but that really only occurs in the El Gigante boss fight, which I will dive deeper later on. My other big complaint about Ada's gameplay is the fact that her melee attacks kind of feel weaker than Leon's. I guess it kind of makes sense that Ada doesn't hit as hard as Leon, and the trade-off is that Ada can still melee from afar, but it just doesn't feel good when I melee an enemy with Ada and they still manage to get up. I even had the plus 20% melee crit charm, and meleeing still felt garbage. Onto her arsenal, however, she pretty much has the same gear as Leon, except she has a sawed-off shotgun and an explosive crossbow. About these new weapons, the shotgun feels like a shotgun, while the blast crossbow is one of the more fun weapons to use. I guess you can say it's a blast to use. Okay, I'm sorry. It is just so fun blowing enemies up with the blast crossbow, and the ammo isn't even super expensive to craft. You can use knives to craft blast arrows. You can use random knives such as kitchen knives and boot knives, and all you have to do is really just combine it with small resources. And if you really think about it, why would you use small resources to make handgun or shotgun bullets when handgun ammo is always plentiful, while the crossbow is more fun to use than the shotgun in my personal opinion? Other than that, everything else about her gameplay is honestly pretty similar to Leon's, and like I said earlier, I just despise how she doesn't hit as hard as Leon. Like, come on Capcom, it's a game. Just make her hit harder. Enough yapping about the gameplay, let's move on to what made Separate Ways really memorable for me. The set pieces. The set pieces in this DLC are absolutely crazy. The fights with you three, I'll call him Pesanta from now on because that's what they call him in this DLC, are insanely fun. Being the opening encounter in the castle is a crazy intro, and fighting him with a shadow clone jutsu is extremely challenging. The village encounter is also more of the same as the castle intro, but it's just so cool to see the village being used as a boss arena. Most importantly, Pesanta's final form and boss fight is an extremely challenging boss to face. The arena is extremely tight to fight in, and he attacks extremely fast. I found his tail swipes to be difficult to avoid, but his melee attacks are parryable, which is a plus. He also tends to spam a bunch of projectiles that explode, and you can either destroy them or avoid them. Once you finally beat him, you might think that it's over, but then his tail just starts attacking you randomly. Like Pesanta, the tail loves to spam projectiles, but this time there are also Novistadors attacking you. The tail tends to like hiding underground, and it also moves extremely often, so it can be extremely hard to hit. Ada's grappling knife attack is also pretty badass here. Well, yeah, that was sick. And overall, Pesanta is a great way to bring back you three in the Separate Ways DLC. Another great set piece I found amazing was the El Gigante fight. Hey man! In the original Separate Ways, the El Gigante fight was just another Gigante fight similar to Leon's. From what I saw, I didn't actually fully watch it, come on bro. However, in the DLC, they absolutely made the fight so much more fun. Ada could grapple onto buildings and shoot at the Gigante from above like it's Attack on Titan. Meanwhile, the Gigante can also destroy the buildings, so you have to make sure that you are moving from building to building. This fight feels very Attack on Titan like I just mentioned earlier, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much. Just look at this knife attack by Ada.
Come here, boy. What the fuck? I didn't know she was Spider-Man.
It's crazy how absolute badass Ada looks fighting El Gigante, and I really enjoyed the set piece. On to a brand new enemy in the DLC, we have Martinico, which is an impenetrable enemy that is undefeatable. They introduced Martinico to bundle him up with the laser room, and I'm so glad that they brought the laser room back. Being an impenetrable enemy, all you can pretty much do is run, as Martinico chases you. I remember when Martinico was chasing me and I was panicking as I had to put in a code for a door while he was right behind me. I found that Martinico is a very cool enemy and I love how he's brand new in the remake. Sadly, I feel that the laser room could have been better. Most of the time, all you had to do was hit circle to dodge the lasers. Like, come on bro, give me more buttons to press. Overall, I'm still happy that they brought back the laser room. So, that's a W. Finally, we have the Saddler boss fight, but this time with Ada. I really like this boss more than the regular Saddler, mainly because I like how cramped the arena is, which forces you to parry Saddler when he gets close. His attack where he shoots the bullets back at you is also insanely cool, and it really differentiates him from the original Saddler. I honestly believe that if this Saddler fight was his first phase in Leon's campaign, then he transformed into his four-legged version. I feel like that I would love the final boss in Resident Evil 4 a lot more. There are also more set pieces in the game that I could mention, but I'm not gonna dive deep into. There's the Chainsaw Man and Woman fight, the Garrador fight, which, did you know that there are 2 on Professional? And the countdown at the end of the game. And those set pieces are just the cherry on top for the Separate Ways DLC. Now, what really gets me excited about Resident Evil 9 is the story of Separate Ways and how it characterizes and humanizes Ada. I really believe that Ada will be in Resident Evil 9, and if she isn't, I'm gonna kill my... No. The story starts off with Ada working for Wesker to retrieve the Amber. However, because of the president's daughter getting kidnapped, Ada and Leon would eventually cross paths again. At the beginning of Resident Evil 2 Remake, Ada is just a heartless mercenary who was trying to use Leon as a tool to do her bidding. However, Leon grows on Ada, and by the end of Resident Evil 2 Remake, it really shows that she cares about Leon. This continues in Resident Evil 4, where we see Ada constantly do things to help Leon. Ada chose to ring the bell to help Leon out when he was getting overwhelmed in the village. The medicine that Leon uses to delay Las Plagas was created by Ada and Luis. Ada constantly tells Leon where things are. By the end of the game, her main goal is to help Leon from Sadler.
Now, find Leon and Sadler.
Aww.
Sure, saving Leon from Sadler also aligns with her goals of obtaining the Amber, but from her words, she wants to save Leon first.
No, Leon.
Go! I trust everything is fine on your end too, Leon.
Separate Ways also recontextualizes two new scenes in the game, the boat scene and the Separate Ways scene. In the boat scene, Leon asks Ada if she has changed, and she says,
"Have you changed, Ada? Or are you just trying to use me again?"
What do you think?
in Leon's campaign, we don't really know much about Ada, other than the fact that she has her own motives while slightly caring for Leon. After playing Separate Ways, we know how Ada has changed. She is no longer that heartless mercenary from the beginning of Resident Evil 2 Remake, as she is constantly helping Leon in the shadows, and she even betrays Wesker by not fully blowing up the island and not delivering the Amber.
Oh, Ada.
For the other scene, where Leon and Ada go their separate ways, from Leon's POV, she's still that same mercenary from Raccoon City. Therefore, he chose not to go with her on that chopper.
I think we both know this is where we go our separate ways.
Despite that, knowing everything that Ada has done for Leon, and how she obviously cares about him, it hurts from her perspective how Leon doesn't want to go with her. But obviously, she understands as she is a mercenary.
Until next time, Leon.
Because of that reason, I am extremely excited about Resident Evil Requiem, and I cannot wait how Leon and Ada's story continues. On other story elements, Resident Evil 5 Remake is also built up thanks to Wesker being a decent part in this DLC. Wesker is genuinely such a good character in the DLC, and I really like how his I want things done personality. Seeing Wesker have Krauser's body is also nice, as it makes us wonder what's going to happen with that. It's probably going to be a few more years before Resident Evil 5 Remake comes out, as Resident Evil 9 is literally just about to come out. But this DLC has made me extremely excited to see Wesker as the villain, and obviously for Chris Redfield to punch a boulder, and also maybe Jill Valentine. So about other things in the DLC that I liked and disliked, I really liked the attention to detail in the DLC. When you get to the church in maybe around like chapter 2 or 3, I forgot, you can hear Ashley crying, which is such a great detail to add. Another detail that I noticed is that when you get outside Salazar's boss room, you can hear Leon fighting Salazar, and that's really cool. They might have added more details that I might have missed, but those are some notable ones that I noticed. The length is also pretty good, as I finished the DLC in 4 hours and 40 minutes, which honestly might be longer than Resident Evil 3 Remake. Comparing the two, it's honestly also better since at launch, Resident Evil 3 was a whole $60 while Separate Ways is $15. And I think Separate Ways is just as replayable, or if not more replayable than Resident Evil 3 Remake. Obviously, there are sales going on, and RE3 and Separate Ways are cheaper nowadays, but regardless, my point still stands. On to my nitpicks. I think that the Leon in our DLC is a speedrunner. At the beginning of chapter 4, Leon just got to the castle, and 30 minutes later, he already encounters Ada. Like, what the no way Leon just went through all the catapults, the Garrett door, met Salazar, the water room, got separated from Ashley, killed the red robe, then met Ada in like 30 or 20 minutes. To be fair, if I was speedrunning as Leon and walking normally as Ada, I guess the times would align. Like I said, it's just a nitpick, so don't even take it seriously. Finally, Ada's voice here is fine. It has kind of grown on me, but my one complaint is the fact that she whispers too much. Like, why are we whispering?
How are you empty?
Overall, her voice is decent, but I understand why people don't like it, especially if you compare her previous voices. Resident Evil 6 is on top, by the way, and then maybe Resident Evil 2 Remake. Those voices are amazing. All in all, Separate Ways DLC has been great, and honestly, this might be the best Resident Evil DLC out there, competing with Resident Evil 7 for me, of course. Like, End of Zoe DLC was just great. Punching Mold is really fun. And I also really like 21. That was a really fun DLC. I'm really glad I experienced this as I have said like a million times, this DLC has made me 20 times more excited for Resident Evil Requiem. I was also really happy that I got to see the cut content from Resident Evil 4 Remake get put into this DLC. Especially the U3 boss fight and the laser room. Oh, did I mention that I'm excited for Resident Evil 9? I have? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you know though? I should be releasing this video before Resident Evil 9 comes out, and I have not seen any leaks. However, once I play it and see Ada Wong and figure out that I was right, I honestly might cream my pants. Okay, that's enough. Thanks for listening to me yap, and if you liked it, you know what to do. Alright, bye bye.